The HUI tonight is to help everyone have a look at what everyone's doing in the forum, and particularly to let people have a view of projects that might enthuse them and make be invited to join the work of the forum and participate in some of the many things that are going on. In our welcome period, we're going to do something we've done before, and hope to allow you to meet someone in the forum that you don't yet know. And Marlene is going to, just for a few minutes, put us in pause to introduce yourselves, say a wee bit about yourself, and then we'll come back together and proceed. So let's hope we meet someone new. Can you do that for us, Marlene?
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, hello. Oops. Hello, John Paul.
Hi.
That was a fascinating little lesson, wasn't it?
Mm.
Was it all right?
As if I didn't feel guilty enough for drinking too much beer. Anyway.
My apologies, I'm making lots of faux pas.
You've just ruined my this evening's beer, Don. Hope you realize that. I won't be able to enjoy it.
I'm drinking wine, so I'm
Oh, you're fine then, yeah.
I have empathy for the police during the Springbok tour when I served with them, and during the COVID thing. I think it's you have the meat in the sandwich, and not a very comfortable sandwich.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're back all together again, and let me just point out something to you, that your original notice about the forum would have told you we'd end at 8:30, but since then a number of things have been added on to the agenda, and we will end, or endeavour to end, at 8:45. And there will be another 15 minutes after the closure of informal discussion for anyone who has things they want to talk about. Let me just say one word to the several new people here at this HUI. That is, we would love you to register, if you haven't already, on the website as members of the forum, and that gives you access to the whole of the website, and you can, for example, continue to have access to the group activities that you will get some taste of tonight. So if possible, register. We would really enjoin you to do that. Okay, tight timetable. There are going to be bells to remind you. Let me just make sure I've got this right. The idea is a bell 1 minute before the end of a speaking period. Is that correct?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Is that what what we want to do, and then a bell at the end when you must stop speaking. Okay. So we start with Christina giving an update on ongoing projects and newly funded projects and how to get funding.
Kia ora, everyone. I think I've met many, well, I know I've met many of you before, but there's a handful of you I haven't met, so I'll introduce myself. I'm Christina Sincanon, and I am the Volunteer Project and Funding Coordinator for the Forum. And welcome to this project-based HUI, which is really exciting. We have a number of kind of new projects that we want to introduce everybody to, and also bring up a series of projects that are kind of just beginning. And kind of share ideas around them and other ideas you all might have. Before we get into it, I wanted to highlight the work that's been done across the forum since it's begun, which is almost exactly, well, just over 2 years now. And we have over 10 topic groups in different areas of climate action. And there's 8 other ongoing projects that won't be discussed here at today's HUI, and that's not to exclude them or say that they're not worthy of being mentioned. It's just that they've been ongoing, so many of us know about them already, and we wanted to bring sort of new projects up so that everybody can stay informed on the new climate actions and recently formed ideas. And I just wanted to highlight some of the really awesome things that our amazing volunteers are doing, because all of the volunteers across the forum are hardworking, dedicated, all of you, and I'm so grateful to work with you. Without you all, we'd have nothing. We wouldn't have a forum at all. The transport group works hard on a number of submissions and meets monthly with members from Nelson City Council and Tasman District Council. The What We Make, Buy, and Waste group has a number of projects on the go, including an A to Z directory on how to reduce waste, a letter writing campaign, and the Repair Cafe, which runs monthly and is funded by Nelson City Council. They have their own subset of volunteers that they treat very well. And there's a climate action plan group that has a poster campaign. There's a community emissions inventory being done by members of the Science, Technology, and Research Group. The Storing Carbon and Supporting Nature Group do plantings at Snowden's Bush and other places. And I also want to highlight individuals like Julie Cave, who do a lot of work. Julie does a lot of work for the website on submissions. And speaking of the website, it's not a project, but we're working on a new website this year, a new public-facing website that will be live hopefully in the next 6 months. And yeah, what else did I want to say? We have a lot to cover, as Joanna said. If you're keen to be involved in any of the projects discussed or anything you hear about, please reach out to me. I'll add my email address to the chat. I'll also add a spreadsheet of the current forum projects that are running and a spreadsheet of project ideas. The project ideas spreadsheet is meant to be a place where you can jot down an idea, see other ideas that have come up, put your name down if you're interested, so people know that they're not alone in their idea. And we have a recently this year, so just in the last couple of months, process for accessing project funds through the forum. So the forum has funding from Nelson City Council and the Lottery Commission for project work. And you can any Climate Forum member is eligible to access those funds. And I'll post the link to that information in the chat box as well. So there'll be a couple of things in the chat. Yeah, I'll leave it at that, and you'll see me again later. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina. And what we have next is something on evaluation, which is often thought about last, but tonight we're thinking about it first. And David Bartle is going to speak briefly to us on this topic. David has worked in project evaluation in New Zealand and in many other countries. He's just finishing off a project that is in Somalia. He loves evaluation, and he hopes to stimulate an evaluation thinking and culture in the forum. And David generously is willing to be consulted on evaluation of forum projects. Thank you, David.
Sure. Christina's going to bring up a
Yeah.
PowerPoint, aren't you? But I'll start now because time's of the essence. So this is the first really substantive discussion I think the forum has had of this. So I hope we can continue when we get more time. So my aim is to persuade you that evaluation should become part of the forum's work. This would help us foster an inquiring and objective culture across the forum. Evaluation can be defined, as you can see on the top right of this first slide, as an objective process which uses evidence to judge the merit, worth, or value of a project. So here in the forum, we can achieve this together by focusing on the essentials. So I will outline a simplified and made easy approach, which I hope could work for us. Several of you tonight are knowledgeable evaluators, but I invite all of you to contribute to this discussion, either tonight or at another time. So moving to the next slide, today I will address 3 questions.
Sorry.
Slide 2, please.
Sorry. Okay, sorry. Oops.
Sorry, I'm not saying sorry. That's it. The next one down.
Yeah.
Yep. Put it. Yep. Just slide down, slip the down thing down a bit, can you? Anyway. So the next slide is simply to explain what I'm going to cover. The first one is why evaluate. The second is who should we involve? And the third is what approach and methods should we use? So see if you can get that second slide up for a moment.
Do you
It's for number 4.
do you see the slides? Did you see the second slide?
We did see it on the corner, but never mind.
On the corner. Okay.
Yeah, let's not worry about that. Let's go to the third slide. Time is the essence. Why evaluate? Yes, good. We should allow time to build a shared understanding of why we should do this. There are 4 reasons here to possibly evaluate. Firstly, it can help inform our consideration of what we achieve and the constraints that we encounter in our work. Secondly, it can help identify useful insights for planning forum activities. Thirdly, funders. We have funders that support our projects. Funders might look to us to provide it. And fourthly, it can stimulate what I call here an evaluative culture. By that, it means the wider dialogue or inquiry or value and direction of discussions on our work. And a culture where we discuss why and how things happen and present and discuss these in different forums. So go to the next slide, please. So who to involve? In the same way, the question of who's involved in a project, so too, it's a good thing to think clearly about who to involve in an evaluation exercise of any sort. So in this slide, there are 4 possible groups mentioned on the right. In addition to that, we need to remember that there are often bicultural or multicultural considerations, and we need to make sure that we have participation in our process that listens to those perspectives too. As you can see in the cartoon, however, in the core piece of work, too many cooks can be an issue. I hope you can read that cartoon. Anyway, moving on. Next slide. An evaluative approach. So this is what we could do. And here you can see 5 points. So in these 5 points, I'm going to run through them. These are the core of what we could do on a project or another activity where we wanted to do some evaluation work. So firstly, we could confirm the objectives of what we're looking at. Did it have objectives and were they agreed? Then secondly, we could simply describe what happened. Tell the story of the project. Thirdly, we can seek evidence of progress towards objectives. Evidence is good, but so too is your judgment about what matters, including the timeliness of your work. And I'm going to come back to that. Fourthly, examine what contributed to progress, how and why. What contributed? How and why questions are really important. Finally, use your findings to reach some conclusions, and if possible, identify a few lessons that can be shared with other projects. Now, you can see in that little asterisk at the bottom, in terms of evidence, we're already asking on projects for things like photos, hours, people involved, and that's all part of collecting the information. Now, depending on what you have on your screen, over on the top right of this slide, there are some little boxes with the word intervention logic beside it. This is quite helpful in evaluation and in discussing projects more broadly, because it helps understand the dynamics. What is the logic of our project? Take an example, our climate action book. That's a resource for which we plan workshops, activities, at which participants participate to plan actions. These are outputs, and that will, we hope, reduce their greenhouse gas emissions, the outcomes. Now, in this example, we can't measure the outcomes. We don't know what the greenhouse gas reductions are because they're not attributed to the project. But we can look at the outputs. For example, in the book, we could have a return form where people are asked to send it in at some point for to go into a lottery or something. Send in your return form about what you've done. Or we could also at workshops ask people to say how well they went. So we could collect some simple evidence on these activities if we choose to do that. So in summary, I want to allow time for discussion. Evaluation needs evidence, but equally judgment, your judgment really matters. Most importantly, have a go and include others. Finally, I should say one of my favorite topics, timeliness matters. We have a topical example at the moment. There's a woman in Britain, Sue Gray, who's reviewing Boris Johnson's drinking habits and parties. By the time her report comes out, I imagine he'll be canonized or a teetotaler. The timeliness of when we do things really matters. Thank you. Please offer any comments and questions in the chat.
Thank you very much, David. That, as you said, it was the first time we have looked seriously at evaluation, and I hope that it'll be built into more of our work as we proceed. So we do thank you very much for that. All right, now we're on to ongoing projects that could benefit from some volunteer help. And starting with Anne Wheatley talking about her project, Earth Emotions.
Right, so Earth Emotions is a photography exhibition, and we will be launching it on the 22nd of April, which is Earth Day. And this exhibition shares the personal takes from people all around the top of the South, their personal takes on the challenges we face with climate, biodiversity, soils, atmosphere, fresh water, oceans, forests, and our own health. And the exhibition, rather than just focusing on these crises and challenges, aims to turn things around and inspire change by contributing to new narratives. So the exhibition is going to be online because of COVID, and we're going to be featuring it on a website called The Exhibit. The Exhibit is a purpose-built website for publishing complete exhibitions online and for sharing themes, stories, and ideas with both global and local audiences. And it supports the work of artists and curators, commercial galleries, and cultural institutions around the world. And it's actually a homegrown thing. It was created by a couple of Kiwis who are based in Christchurch. So it's very pleasing to be able to present the forum's photography exhibition on a website of a local business. So this exhibition will consist of a set of 5 galleries that showcase over 100 images by 46 photographers from all over the top of the South. And in addition to having an online exhibition, we've also applied to exhibit a selection of the images at the Refinery Art Space. And the refinery will be announcing successful applicants on the 25th of April. And we've already been told that our proposal is very strong. We also have tentative plans for pop-up exhibitions. And the first of these, well, the idea of these pop-up exhibitions is to use LCD projection to show selected images from the big exhibition. And later on, Christina is going to be talking about a new initiative of the forum called Climate Week. And we're hoping that there will be a pop-up exhibition of Earth Emotions during Climate Week. And we're also looking for opportunities to do other pop-up exhibitions around the region. So I have 2 requests for you. One is, please spread the word about the exhibition. There will be an announcement very soon with details and the URL of the exhibition website. This will be made available on the Climate Forum website and social media channels. And we're also working on a press release. We've already had success with the Motueka Guardian, and we hope that other media outlets will also be helpful. And my second request is, if you know of any organizations that might be interested in hosting a pop-up version of this photography exhibition, please get in touch with me. I will put an email that you can use in the chat. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anne. And the next person is David Ayer with Climate Action Book Distribution.
Hi, everybody. Simple, quick wee thing. We have, as many of you will have seen, the Climate Action book that we produced in 2020 and the beginning part of 2021. And we are currently arranging for that to be put up on stands in supermarkets and libraries throughout the region. Several of them have already been done in the sense of being set up and running, but still need people to look after them periodically and check to make sure that the numbers haven't run out and top them up as needed, maybe once a week or something like that, which we're hoping will get people who are used to going to particular places like supermarkets or libraries once a week to just slip that in as part of what they normally do. If anyone is interested in being involved in doing that, and for any of the supermarkets or libraries in the region, we can keep your name even if they're already being looked after. If you would let me know by email, I'll put my email in the chat and look forward very much to hearing from you. Thank you.
Thank you, David. We'd really like to have those stands in every supermarket and every library in the region. Thanks very much. On to recently initiated projects that may have an ask. They may be needing more people to help. And starting with a big one, this is the social marketing campaign, and Chris Wheatley will tell us about it and set us to some discussion about it. So Chris Wheatley.
Thanks very much, Joanna, for that intro. There is a PowerPoint. I'm not sure Marlene or Christina is going to share. Yeah, okay, thanks very much for that. Excellent. So what we're talking about here is the new project that we've got some funding from the Climate Forum to sort of work on the design of a project, sort of a social marketing project around behavior change related to the climate emergency. For this, we've sort of had a small sort of working group, which Joanna and Jack are a part, and Barbara Robson and Robin and a few others. And we've Also co-opted a couple of people from outside the forum, Tracy Bridges, who is a sort of social marketing behavior change expert, been involved in a lot of previous campaigns and programs, and also Scott Nicol, who's a community engagement sort of specialist consultant working in the top of the South region, who some of you will probably know, and he works a lot with Tasman Environment Trust. And so we've made some progress in developing the ideas around this new campaign, and so I'd just like to present those to you now and elicit some feedback as a result of all of this. So if we can move on to the next slide, please.
Is it all right?
No, we've still got the first one up here.
Oh, sorry. It's, I don't know what. So this one, do you get it? No.
Yeah, that's it. That's
Okay.
the one.
I don't know.
So just taking a few of the insights or sort of lessons that Tracy Bridges has sort of passed on to us. First one is, obviously, if we're looking at behavior change across a community, it's hard. It's a long slog, and information alone is not enough to change behavior. A lot of people already know about climate change. They're convinced about it, but behavior hasn't changed, and so there's knowing the information is not enough. It's a long term. It's not, campaign isn't really the right word. It's more like a program, an initiative, something that's going to run over a number of years, because a one-shot campaign isn't going to change behavior at all. We need to understand well the target audience. It's not just us as a group of people in the forum who are engaged, but we need to change behavior of people who are not engaged around climate change as well, the wider community and business and so on. So it's understanding the characteristics, the beliefs, the emotions and so on of the different demographics, different target audiences. And we need to focus on a single high priority action we can't propose a whole slew of different actions and behavior changes, but try to focus on one or few priorities is what's worked. And they talk about indivisible actions and ones that are not bundles of sort of 20 different actions all trying to get in under the same message. And we need to engage with a wide number of stakeholders and partners, that sort of single message coming from a wide variety of trusted partners, trusted people and organizations is what we're looking for. Okay, and next one. Thanks, Molly. So we have about the understanding our audience, the target. We have some information from a couple of surveys. One, a sort of national one, the Energy Efficiency Council, I think it is, and another Nelson specific study that was commissioned by the Nelson City Council. Okay, the next one. So from the this national level survey, sort of some interesting data comes out of that. Yeah, 80% of people in New Zealand think climate change is real, but only 22% are motivated to change personal behavior because of it. So that's the gap that we've got, sort of about 60% of people that know about climate change but haven't changed behavior. That women have a sort of a higher percentage than men around thinking that climate change is real. Young people more than oldies. But there's no real difference they found between urban and rural Kiwis, which is interesting. I might have expected something there. And in general, Maori, Pacifica and Asian people have a higher percentage of concern around climate change than Pakeha, which also is interesting. People with higher incomes are more worried than those with low incomes, are more able and willing to make changes, and also have the highest emissions. And so that's a potential target group where we have people are more able and willing to make changes, and they're also the ones that are making higher emissions. And so that sort of Tracy is sort of thinking that may be a demographic to start with, and that women are more likely to change their behavior than men, but men like EVs more than women do. There we go. So that's it. And recycling is a gateway behavior to get people into making a change that's relevant to the climate emergency. Okay, next one. Yeah. And for at the bottom of that slide there, the Nelson study done by the council here, commissioned by the council, found that in Nelson, people are more concerned about climate change than across the national average, more engaged with waste and recycling efforts than the national average. So that's where I think the waste group is tapping into something that the community is very engaged with, and they're keen to see the city council do more in that area. People are concerned about water quality, and that media are the key. Many residents don't know how they can implement desired behavior, and they're looking and see it as something that involves a lot of sacrifice. So that's okay. So those are some interesting Nelson-based conclusions. The next one, please, Martin. So one thing we're looking at as a group is what would be an overarching goal for such a campaign. There could be a lot of it could have different slogans, different messages related to specific behavior changes, but we need an overarching goal that should be motivational, achievable, measurable, and meaningful, and something that's locally focused, that's relevant for Nelson Tasman. So the one that we proposed, next slide, please. The one that we proposed to when we were seeking the funding is net zero Nelson Tasman by 2035. Basically, Nelson Tasman being this region, net zero being a concept that sort of is built into the national framework, so by 2050, but we're saying 2035 to try and make something more meaningful in a shorter time frame. Fixing a goal on 2050, people think, oh, so far in the future, I don't need to do anything now. And the goal sort of 2025 or something is just too overwhelming. So 2035 is one that seems to have resonated with quite a few people that we've spoken to, although others think it's maybe too abstract, too intellectual, and are looking for some more punchy goals, which could perhaps be sort of slogans underneath this general goal as well. Okay, next one, please. So we've also looked at a range of potential behaviors that we'd be seeking to change. And a lot of these come out of, I think, or related to those in the climate action book. I'm not going to work through all of these, just you can read them there. And I'll say a lot of them come from the climate action book. But also including councils and businesses in this. So it's not just something for households, but something that other sort of businesses and councils need to, would be great if they could come on board with under this campaign or program as well. Okay, next one. Also, another sort of concept that could be useful is swapping a behavior we don't want for something we do. In other words, to measure something, stop doing something, and then start doing something else. So a measure, stop, start sort of framework could be interesting, useful as well. Okay, next one. And this is something that Joanna brought to our attention, and then I saw it also in an article in The Guardian about a behavior change program or initiative that's recently started up in the UK called The Jump, which seems to be very well researched, based on a lot of sort of the science behind climate change and how to reduce emissions. And if we can jump to the next slide, please. Yeah, but so they're looking at 6 priority behavior changes here. End clutter, travel fresh, eat green, dress retro, holiday local, and sort of system level change. And this is something that we think could possibly be a useful framework for us as well. You know, it's more than one message. Maybe we prioritize within that initially. And also it would need some adaptation. Next slide, please. So the sort of no use of personal vehicles is a difficult one in New Zealand. It's much more practical in the UK. So we could switch to something like travel light, and if you can, walk, bike, bus. So there's ways to adapt this. And I think if people think this is a useful approach, we can get in touch with the Jump people. They've got a lot of resources already developed and we could sort of try and adapt that campaign, this campaign, for our local context. So that would be one way forward. Okay, next one. However, the jump campaign, we think is probably more suited to people who are well off, who can make some of these changes. It's a great place to start, but it might not work for more marginalized, struggling families. And so we do need to understand better about those particular demographics and what would make them sort of motivate them to change behavior as well. But the jump program would be a great way to start potentially. Okay, next one. Yeah, so and so what we look at for understanding these demographics is which ones are going to be the largest, which ones can make the most difference, are most affected by the problem, has the largest emissions, and are open and able to change. So an understanding of that will help us to sort of focus in on particular groups within the community. Okay, next one. And potential partners. I said at the beginning, we really need to coordinate this wider than the forum. And so, the Business for Climate Action is obviously one potential partner, with Mission Zero there, the iwi and Maori trusts, and so on. The waste and recycling groups, obviously very important. Media, local and regional media, our councils, Landcare Trust and Federated Farmers, because we have a large rural community to get involved as well. Tasman Environmental Trust, because if we're talking net zero, we're also looking at sequestration, at planting trees and protecting forests from browsing mammals to increase sequestration, and blue carbon as well. The Multicultural Council, and so the wide range of community groups. So there's a lot of sort of networking and partnerships to develop if we're going to proceed along this path. Okay, next one. And so finally, so the next steps, and this is where I'd like some feedback from everyone, especially around two of these. The number one, agree the overarching goal. So is net zero Nelson Tasman 2035, is that something that the forum as a whole would get behind, or any other suggestions, proposals? And we need to sort of make a move on this as soon as possible. So that's quite urgent to nail down. We'll look at continuing to understand the target audiences, try and access more sort of research results, and maybe have to do some primary research ourselves to get a better handle on that. Identify and agree priority behaviors to target. So that's sort of within the, for instance, the jump campaign, which ones of those to focus on initially. And contract a local professional to design the program, which is built into the proposal that the forum is supporting. Define and quantify net zero in our local context. So that's, if we're going to measure it, we need to know what it is, both in terms of emissions and sequestration. And that could be quite a task. And I think that's where the STAR group might come to the party. And I'd probably need to interact more with that group. Coordinate with potential partners and develop a funding strategy, because we've got the funding for the design of this, but not for the implementation of it. And so we'd need to get further financial support for that. And I think there's a good prospect for donations. We've already had interest in that, and so very concrete. And sort of thank you for those forum members who've expressed interest and support in that way. So I think that's it. So for the so like two questions. One is on the overall goal, and the other one is this jump campaign. If you go to their website, which is takethejump.org, have a look at it. Do you think that's something we can adapt and build on here, or we should take our own pathway through? Okay, thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Chris. That's a big and exciting and needed campaign, and we will need to work out a process of making a forum decision, particularly on the goal statement. But thank you so much for presenting that to us. It's come a long way in a short time. Great work, thanks. The next, from big and complex to small and simple and quick, is a project called Outreach Beyond the Comfort Zone. And I will spend a couple of minutes telling you about that. Its purpose is to stimulate climate or overshoot action and awareness in more places and more people, and perhaps get more forum members. So how does it work? It's intended to be something that any forum member can do on their own, at their own pace, in their own way. And it starts with people you know, contacts you have in your life space, people who belong to other groups. And it could be good to select a group that has some ethical or environmental values in their own purpose. So the next step, having identified who you want to talk to, is to spend some time on understanding that group, understanding their purposes, values, any actions on overshoot or climate that they've taken, and consider theoretically any actions that such a group might take in climate action. Then start a conversation, starting with the shared values or interests and exploring further towards aspirations to do more and presenting possibilities when that feels appropriate. And finally, following through and also deciding that this is not a promising conversation, it isn't likely to go anywhere, so you'll move on to the next and be prepared to have plenty of those. So what have we done so far? Peter Kemp, Jan Marsh and Christine Gillespie on Sunday talked to their group, which is the Nelson Meeting of Friends. And Julie Cave has engaged with a friend from Te Awhina Marae on matters of the forum's charter and practices. And as a consequence, Julie is studying the environment management plans of the iwi of this rohe as a foundation for possible future collaboration. I've had one encounter which I decided not to pursue, and my other encounter has been most encouraging. It was with a friend in the local Catholic church and has led to an agreement to have a monthly article in the church bulletin that goes to all 5 churches in Tasman. And this article will be presented as a collaboration between the church and Nelson Tasman Climate Forum and will be on climate action. And there's a good relationship established with a church official which promises to lead to further things. To sum up, this is easy, it's fun, it's strongly aligned with our purpose of weaving communities together. Try it. On to the next thing, which is raising the forum's profile, and once again to David Bartle.
So this is an exciting project which involves meeting with what I describe as opinion formers in Tasman. So these are people in business or in community groups. And my task has been to interview and write up their story while at the same time talking to them a little bit about what the forum does and getting them perhaps a bit more interested in the forum. And so I've interviewed a range of people and I'm actually writing some of this material up into articles for submission to the local newspapers, like some of the other projects you've been hearing about tonight. And my meetings have covered quite a range of people, ranging from chambers of commerce, the people who decide on where to put EV charging stations in New Zealand, the manager of the hospice charity shops across the Tasman district, the owners of a recycle centre, the managers of 2 local organic vegetable shops, distribution businesses rather, a New Zealand expert on how climate change affects our vegetable prices. So these are people I've interviewed. The best difficult task for me is actually sometimes weaving together the commonalities and the links. And I'm really enjoying doing that. And anyone interested further should contact me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, David. Now, Jenny, on a national campaign for on the emissions reduction plan.
Yes, the government's emission reduction plan for the next decade comes out at the end of May. And we've been thinking ahead how to get those risk-averse politicians to work together and actually start the process of seriously reducing the country's carbon emissions. And we came up with an old-fashioned idea of sending postcards to all the MPs from every party, telling them that we support them to get going, really care about climate change and want them to hurry up. And the local MPs will really appreciate getting a card from their local electorate people, the people who vote them in. Now, we need to do this straight after the emission reduction plan comes out. So we're aiming for the first week of June. Okay, that's a couple of months away. But I want to talk about it now so that you know. There are 3 advantages to using postcards. Firstly, it's free post to Parliament, so they don't need a stamp. They show that you've put some personal effort in, and they make a physical presence of support on their office, hopefully a big pile in their in tray. The emails might get counted, but personalised postcards make a much bigger impression, and the pretty ones, they put them up on their walls. So to make this nationwide, we're going to contact 30 climate groups in New Zealand and ask them to send this idea out to all their members and include our 2-page action kit of all the MPs' names, their electorates, the list of ministers and their portfolios, and the post office box for Parliament, and a suggestion of 3 key points. Now, it's very likely that some of those climate groups will want to criticise the government's emission reduction plan for it being too weak. And they can do that and hopefully make it better. But what we don't want to happen is the MPs to say, oh dear, people don't like this plan. I think we should wait for another year or 2. And that's what's been happening. They're just procrastinating and not getting going. There are a couple of things you could do to help even early on. You might want to make some postcards during the school holidays. Cut up some thin cardboard into the shape of an envelope and decorate one side with a drawing or paste on some pictures cut out of old calendars or old Christmas cards or something, and keep them in a pile for the first week of June. And when it's closer to time, encourage friends and relatives you know throughout the country to take part in this national campaign. We'll put that action kit as a PDF on the Climate Forum website and also on social media. Now, the active part of this campaign will be happening in the first week of June, which coincides with our local Climate Action Week, which Christina's going to tell you all about. So making and writing postcards to encourage MPs and ministers is something that we can all do here. So that's a big strategic plan, and I think it's going to work. It's actually a copy of something we did in the nuclear free movement, and it made a big difference when David Longy got a number of mail bags, chock-a-block full of postcards telling him to keep New Zealand nuclear free. So it's an old-fashioned idea, and I think it's time to revive it. That's me.
Thank you very much, Jenny. So watch for that on the website, and be prepared to swing into action in the first week of June with the emissions reduction plan coming out on May the 31st. Okay, Christina, Climate Action Week.
Yeah, so pivoting off of Jenny's plan for a national campaign and the timing of the release of the New Zealand ERP emissions reductions plan, the forum team, so Marlene, Anya, I, and Joanna, with Jenny and Gemma Hogan as advisors, are planning to run a week-long Climate Action Week here in Nelson, Tasman. So beginning on June 4th, going to June 11th, a series of events, action-oriented events, and also educational events. So a movie screening. The goal is to get people locally aware of our campaigns and goals, particularly the importance of the ERP, our aim is to have a postcard printed out that we can hand out to all the attendees at the events across the region. We're just getting started planning, so if this is the first you've heard of it, that's why we're kicking into gear next week, because it's only 2 months away and there's plenty to do. We are planning to reach out to our community partners and colleagues as well. So if you have a workshop or an event that you'd also like to host, we can provide funding for venues and marketing and social media and that type of stuff. Yeah, please get in touch and we will keep everybody informed, because this is going to be a big week for us to kind of, demonstrate all that the forum does, but also demonstrate the need for climate action, like writ large. So we're hoping as many people as possible would like to be involved or attendees, and bring your family and friends. Yeah, so watch this space and we'll keep you posted.
Thank you, Christina. Now we're on to projects that are just sprouting, things that are just turning from ideas into something happening. And the proponents of these particular projects also might have asks that they want to put to you. So let's start with John Paul, Society and Culture Emerging Projects.
Hi all, I'm going to try and share my screen. Let's see if this works. Hopefully, can you see that?
Yep.
So this is a project that I believe Jenny and Peter at first proposed, and it was a documentary about rationing to try and get people's head around this idea of reducing our carbon credits, that kind of thing. This conversation I've had a lot of conversations, right, and the baton's been passed a little bit along, and I've picked up on this with our group, and this is really around with all the conversations I've had around our group and the wider community and a filmmaker that I've been talking to. It's sort of evolved into this, rather than rationing, which has a connotation about reducing, but that we perhaps should focus on, well, actually, who's actually doing this now? Who's living better with less? What are the positive things? So actually looking to our community. So this could be a documentary, it could be a series of stories, and this is an idea that's being developed in our group at the moment. Nelson Model, this is one of our oldest projects. It's still ticking over and actually is in real demand from Nelson City Council now, as we create this discussion around what are the impacts of the climate going to be on Nelson, and how do we evolve that city. This is something I did a little while back, having to play around with a really simple model. Wellington City Council just spent like $1 million and something on an Unreal Engine model, which is probably, although there might be a budget from NCC to do something around this, we're not going to get a $1.5 million or whatever this costs. But it was interesting that they used a gaming model for this. We've used City Skylines, which is also a gaming model, which has been used to show cities. But that idea of turning our city into a game is quite appealing. So this is a project that's ongoing. This is one I want to bring into the forum and actually connects with a few things that are actually happening in other groups. A friend of mine, Jose, who some of you may know, has been developing these essentially food sacks or grow sacks that are using different materials and different compost and soils, and to basically create these environments where even if you haven't got a garden, you can grow stuff. And having worm farms, which I think Christina, you can talk about, somebody's going to talk about worm farms. I've actually talked to one of the schools about this, so this might fit into the schools group, the food group, it's one of those projects that's across. So I've been building my own, using them as well. This is the weekend, is my weekend projects. This is what I put in our driveway at the moment. And I've got a coding group that I'm developing, so with children, developing ideas around automatic feeding, watering, monitoring of this as sort of a way of engagement. So something else we can take to schools, or how we use technology in the environment. Oh, I spelled it wrong. So you can see I was trying to put these together really quick just before the meeting. But yeah, tell me everything. Tell me you did everything you could. This is a project I started last year and put on shelf for a bit. And there's 1 or 2 of you that I filmed last year, and I'm hoping to film a whole range of people to create a conversation around this. This is, you know, just trying to pull on people's guilt a little bit. You know, are we doing everything we can? So this is something you might recognize. So anyway, those are very briefly some of the projects. Get into, we've got a twist link if anybody wants to join these conversations and get involved in our group. And yeah, if there's anything of interest, please, yeah, get in touch. Thank you.
Thank you very much, John Paul. Quite exciting to see that you're looking at rationing and living better with less. Colin Davis, will you tell us about Climate Fresque?
Yes, hope you can hear me. At the moment, this is a solo engagement, but I'm hoping to bring other people in. So please, if you're interested, please get in touch with me and tell me what you'd like to do. Can I share screen, please?
Yeah, you can. You can.
Okay. Is that up?
Yep.
Can you all see that?
Yep.
Okay. I was informed about Climate Fresque by a friend of mine from the Green Party, Joan Skur, who had a friend in France whose son was doing the Climate Fresque. And the Climate Fresque is a French invention to share information about climate change and all aspects of it through a game. And the game has 42 cards, all representing different aspects of climate, of the climate crisis. And the game can be played in 2 ways, like this you can see on the screen. It can be done face-to-face over tables, which is the way I would like to see it done, or the way I did it when I joined them. I did a workshop, a 3-hour workshop with a group from different countries, and we all did it online, and we came up with something like this sheet on the right there. Fresque is means a kind of fresco, or an image that you produce after putting all the cards in appropriate places. Basically, it's a thinking process, it's a self-awareness process, it's a learning process, and it's all based on IPCC reports. So all the cards are completely authentic, well supported, and have details on the back as to what they mean. I'll show you some of the cards in a moment. So the Climate Fresque workshop is a 3-hour process, which is a worry in terms of getting it off the ground here. Reasoning is 1 hour, 30 minutes, where you link the cards, cause and effect, and you create a collage, which is the fresco. And the cards come in 3 sets so that you have 3 stages of thinking in the reasoning process. That's why it's 1 hour, 30 minutes. Then there's a 30-minute creativity process where you talk about the collage, you draw lines showing all the connections, and you can illustrate it if you've got people who are good at that. And then you have an hour's discussion, which reflects on emotions, thoughts, questions that come up, and possible solutions. So it's very personal, it's very open, it's very shared, it's not top down in any way. And what I would envisage is doing it initially with schools, with tables like this, with big sheets of white paper over them, maybe six tables in a room, 6 people on each table, and then they collaborate to get the cards in sensible positions. So it's scientifically robust, as I say, based on IPC. It's fun, it's very interactive, easy to implement. Because once you've got the cards, and I've got one set here, but we can easily print more off. And it's got Creative Commons licensing, so it's free to use. We don't have to pay them anything unless we charge, and then they take a 10% cut. So there's no cost to it at all. It's a charity. And once somebody's done a 3-hour workshop, they can become a facilitator. I've done a 3-hour facilitators workshop as well, which enables me, hopefully, to lead an activity like this. So I'm hoping to motivate people who actually do the workshop to become facilitators, and then they can help it to spread, and we can buy more cards so that they can try it out in schools, at the Polytechnic, etc. As I say, it's based in France, but now it's worldwide. So worldwide, we have 240,000 participants. There are 400 universities and business schools involved, 10,000 facilitators around the world, and 1,000 companies who are doing it. Because a lot of companies are interested in their members starting to understand climate change and starting to understand the changes that the companies need to make. So it's of great help in this process. 50 countries in the world are doing it. At the moment, as you can see, New Zealand is off the map because we haven't started. So when we do our first climate fresk in Nelson, we can get New Zealand to be on the map there. But at the moment it's faded, so nothing's happening here. And it's in 35 languages. Although the starting language is in French, most people doing it are doing it in English. And why is it a success? Why is it good to work? It's playful, it's fun, it's educational, it's collaborative, it's visual, because the pictures are very easy to grasp. It's creative. You can make, every collage is different. And this is something I would like to discuss with a group to see, you know, how we can make it competitive or non-competitive. Yes, I've seen the time is coming. It's quite simple. Just need a deck of cards, pen, pencil, and it's scientific. But it's also important. It's also to do with climate change. It's also urgent. And I think for me, that's even more important. Before, yeah, we'll take questions later on, hopefully. But can I just quickly, if you'll give me the time, just show you a couple of the cards, because I think you'll find this quite interesting. Let me just, can I get, do I have to stop share and share again?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Okay, here we go. Can you see this? This is the kids. This is the kids version. The kids version has 22 cards, and they're very simple like this. I travel by car or I fly. CO2, greenhouse effect. There are 22 cards, and they have to show the links between them, which impinges on which
Colin,
direction.
we need you to wind up now.
Yeah, I'm winding up. Okay, I'm going to stop. But please, if you're interested, get in touch with me. I need support. I need other people doing it. I need people, youthful people with energy who want to get involved in this. And I think we can get the schools involved. That's what I would like to happen. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Colin. Looks like fun. Anya is next with the Arts Expo Round 2.
Hello. Okay, I wasn't going to show this, but I think I might as well. Can everybody see this?
Yep.
Okay, right. So it's a very, very rough proposal, but basically it's just a repeat with a bit more finesse of what we attempted in December last year. So the overview of the Arts Expo was that, you know, we engaged a lot of local children to create artworks which express their feelings around the theme of climate change. Last time we didn't do a formal launch. I would like to sort of explore the possibility of doing that this time. We may have the refinery. I've been in touch with them. I'm going to meet them on Friday. There's a very, very strong possibility that we can have the refinery for this, plus their window space, which will be awesome if that happens, but I'll keep you all posted. So last time we had some great prizes, and we had some judges who came and took the whole thing very seriously and made the kids feel very, very special. We had lots of prizes for them. This year, I think we did have a prize giving ceremony on Zoom, which was quite nice, but it would be great to do it in person this time. So the aim was really to form connections with schools and teachers, parents and school-age children. I feel like we did better with the parents and the kids than with the schools and the teachers, but that won't stop us trying again, you know, still go to the schools. We gave these kids a chance to be heard, and we introduced more people to the work of the forum, raised its profile, and used the medium of art to influence public opinion around climate change. I like to think that we did inspire more young people to speak up and get involved. Some of the artworks were quite bold, quite challenging, quite brave, quite outspoken. So that sort of made me feel like we did achieve that a little bit. And it did inject creativity and freshness into the climate change conversation, I feel. And we did offer, we had a special prize for Tanga Whenua, which was kindly donated by Whakatu. So hopefully we can get that again. And it did generate quite a few stories. We had, as I say, it's emanated from forum members. We were hoping to reach school-age children, which we did. I'm not convinced that the teachers were that helpful, but again, I'm not going to, not reach out to them. I'll keep trying. Families certainly were very supportive, and we'd like to sort of shoulder tap community leaders, community groups, organizations for their help with this. Lessons from last time, there were a lot of lessons. Central location, we're working on that. More publicity and separate publicity around the event itself, as opposed to just garnering the entries. More age appropriate categories. There's lots there you can read for yourself, so I'm not going to go through it all, but we definitely learned a lot from our experience, and it's given us the tools to refine it and make it a lot more successful this time. Key messages: that art has the power to change hearts and minds. The youth of today are the leaders and the voters of tomorrow, so we need to respect them and take them seriously. Kids do want action on the climate emergency, and we saw that through their art. Activism comes in all shapes and sizes. Everyone can do something. We need to take kids' support seriously and support them. There are a few resources needed. What I'm asking today is that volunteers are the most important resource. So if anybody is interested in helping with this, and it was I would say it was a very fun thing to be involved in, and just like, it was delightful actually seeing all the kids, getting excited about it and sinking their teeth into it. We're always interested in the prizes. The prizes are a good fish hook, you see. So if anybody knows anybody who has any kind of shop, or who can provide vouchers or money, because we do need a lot of prizes, So I would say they're the main things really, our volunteers and prizes. These numbers may be a little bit off. We did go through this many volunteer hours, so you can tell that was only over the course of a weekend. This time it would be for a week, but we wouldn't have to man it if it was in the refinery. But we had a lot of benefits, like there was a lot of exposure. We had 43 entries from 38 entrants, so that was 38 kids, a couple of radio interviews, lots of print articles, wide social media reach, schools, YouTube video was, viewed a lot. So it's worth doing, I think, and it's a bridge. It's a very valuable bridge for us to actually reach the kids and provide them with something that is fun, and actually show them that we're listening to them, and that they do have a voice, and an important voice. So I will put my email address in the chat, and if anybody wants to come on board with this, just give me a yell. The schools group have already indicated a strong interest, so thank you very much for that. And then hopefully we'll have the usual suspects from last time coming along to help us too, but the more the merrier as far as I'm concerned. You're all welcome to come and help. Okay, that's me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anya. Huge amount of work by Anya in that. So do consider helping, particularly on the day. Okay, we're running rather short of time and we have several more. So I'm going to ask Marlene to ring that bell, please, when people reach 3 minutes. So the next person is Jenny on a new group on adaptation. And thank goodness we are really beginning to pay attention to the second item of our charter, that we need to do more work on adaptation. And Jenny has been slogging away at this. Thanks, Jenny. Go ahead.
Sorry, I didn't realise that wasn't on my agenda, but just to say that we want to start up a group looking at adaptation and knowing that mitigation is really important. That's reducing greenhouse gases. And when we do adaptation, which is adapting to sea level rise, floods, fires, storms, all of those things, we need to think about mitigation at the same time. We need to adapt in a way that reduces our greenhouse gases. And I'm really quite excited at the moment because Nelson City Council have got a couple of really good climate champions there, or I've forgotten, that's not their right title, but that's what they are. And they're going to employ another one, and they're starting to do a project, a consultation project with the vulnerable communities around the low-lying areas, and they're also working with Tasman District Council, and they've invited the adaptation group of the Climate Forum to become involved in this as well, and that they'll keep us up to date and we can feed them ideas, and they've already taken some of mine on, and it's really very worthwhile, and we can do other projects as well. So this is just one that's fired me up to start a group. And I'm hoping to get some other people as well. I know David Martin is keen to join, and there's a few other people as well who might like to start thinking about that. And the most important thing that I think Nelson City the councils have to do is think 100 years ahead, because whatever they build now is going to last 100 years. So we really can't afford for them to be building buildings and infrastructure in a place that's going to get flooded. And we know how far the sea level is going to come in 100 years from the IPCC. So it's not something that we should just do short-term thinking about. So yes, it's on the website, so please come and join the group.
Thank you very much, Jenny. David Bartle again on an education project bringing climate change education into schools.
Thanks.
David.
You can't get rid of me that easily.
No.
So our education group, which we were formerly known as a schools group, I've got a lot of great ideas and we need people to help. We really do. We're on the cusp of doing something or nothing. Interestingly, the education group in the forum has not really attracted much attention. So I would say it's for every person in this meeting tonight to decide whether you want to help students or not. So the education side of the forum has had scant attention, other than things like the art show and so on. You need to decide. So I've been involved in a second coming, as it were, of the education group, which in fact, Julie Cave has been involved with from the very beginning and is really an important part of this small group. So I think you know that we need people. One such project to just touch on is we've been talking and networking quite a lot, including with secondary teachers teaching science, and discovered that only some teachers of science in this region are really dealing with the curriculum related to climate change in any depth at all. And according to the teachers we've spoken to, resources would help. So we are planning to go and talk to one or two science departments about what we as a forum could help with resources for those teachers. Those resources could be time of people in the forum who've got relevant backgrounds and could speak to a class or other such things. So we need a few more volunteers in our group to survive. Thank you.
Thank you very much, David. That's, I think, a promising direction to take. Now we have Jack Santa Barbara on Energy Group's emerging projects.
Hello, everyone. The Energy Group is engaged in a number of projects. Perhaps the main one and the overarching one is an energy savings campaign. As you're probably aware, much of our emissions come from our use of energy, and the more we can reduce our energy consumption, the more we'll reduce our emissions. And we also hope to look at the issue of embedded energy, so that when people are making purchases, they're aware of the embedded energy in the purchases they're making. The energy, of course, is central to everything: transport, agriculture, development in our region. So by focusing on energy, we feel we can have an impact across many of these other areas. And we're hoping that there can be some collaboration between the Energy Group on this energy saving campaign and the social marketing group, because there's so many energy specific behaviors that could benefit from social marketing in terms of learning to not only reduce waste from existing processes, but to actually redesign processes to save energy and yet still have the same benefit from the process. So there are huge opportunities across the board in households and businesses and farms to save energy, to reduce energy use, reduce emissions, reduce demand. And of course, this also contributes to reducing our ecological overshoot, because overshoot is driven by the availability of cheap energy. So that's one project. Another is we're investigating the possibility of a municipal biogas digester. Jamie McPhee from NCC is working on this as part of his role within Nelson City Council. And we're looking at various options of how that might be done. And also Daniela Ramirez from NCC is also part of the Energy Group. And again, in her role in NCC is looking at a car sharing program for the municipality, and one that could be available to the broader community when it's not being used by city staff. We're also looking at the whole issue of energy resilience or energy security for the region, because as you're probably aware, we generate very little of our own energy, our own hydro, but we do have the Cobb Dam very close by. And we're looking at what sort of technical options are available to actually use the Cobb Hydro Dam, either in the case of an emergency or on an ongoing basis to provide some energy security for our region, and also looking at how the output from that dam could potentially be expanded. So there's several big projects as well as the energy savings, which can be both big and small. And if anyone's interested, we'd be delighted to have your contribution. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. I just realized that I overlooked our lowly creature, the worms, and I forgot to ask Marlene to talk about the worm farm.
Yeah, it's all right. So yeah, quickly, another project which is sprouting amongst a few members of the forum is a worm farm, is about worm farming. In fact, we just saw a very nice article about Minoki, which is the name of a worm farming company, mainly settled in the North Island at the moment, and yeah, and around Topo and Rotorua, and yeah, this new technology, I mean, it's not maybe new technology, but this technology was really found interesting by the members, you know, of recycling our sludges, also organic waste, and by the worms, and make vermicast, which is a very powerful fertilizers and very good for the soil and regenerating our soils. And so, yeah, the group would like to facilitate the implementation of such a company in the area. So we are just aiming at just working with them, because they are for the moment, I would say the only one with a good knowledge on how to do. But yeah, the idea is really to facilitate such a company in this area. So that's so if somebody is interested in joining the group, so we are in the stage of, we are going to do the feasibility study, so studying all the waste streams that could be available, maybe help to find a piece of land, because they need some space to settle, and yeah, so that's what we are aiming to do in the next months.
And finally, and closely related, Christina on composting.
Yeah, just a few short words about another project that's just sprouting. Is an idea to facilitate composting at Nelson schools. And it would be potentially be a collaboration between Community Compost and NCC or NCC. And the idea is to facilitate local schools in reducing their greenhouse gas emissions through composting organic waste. We know that composting reduces methane emissions that typically happen at landfills when organic waste is added. We'd also like to educate students on methods of composting and the benefits, and teachers, and help to build relationships between the forum and schools. So this project is just getting going, and we'll see where it ends up.
Thank you, Christina. So we have now 10 minutes in which you can feel free to ask any of the presenters any questions you have about their project, to make comments or to make connections. So open floor for 10 minutes on the various projects. Are you feeling a bit overwhelmed with the number of projects going on? It really is extremely impressive.
Whoa.
May I, while you think about it, may I ask John Paul how you lit upon the idea of working on a culture change involving living well with less, and even the possibility of rationing?
Sorry, so the question again? So how it's sort of evolved?
How did your society and culture group come to focus on that living well with less and the possibility of rationing?
Well, this came from the idea of the documentary with, I think, Jack but originally I think it was Jenny and Peter wanted to do a documentary around rationing, which was really trying to lead people into this idea of having a carbon budget. Basically, we budget, we buy things until we can't afford them, essentially, which is obviously the wrong way to be thinking about these things. So the idea was to have this shift, this mental shift, or to have something that was looking at something that's happened in the past, which was really the rationing around World War II and the positive stories that came out of that. There were quite a few issues around it. One of the things was, getting archival footage, and this is really quite expensive. But the more I talked to people, the more people wanted to hear that, there was something negative about rationing. This idea that we have less of something, and that actually we need to get rid of that word, full stop, and focus on, that actually there are people that are living far better than they were before by reducing things. So it went from, well, living better with less to, from the rationing to actually living better with less. So not just living well. So living well with less was initially the line, and then it's like, well, living well, it's like, well, we're okay, but actually we want to say, well, this is the people are doing really well out of, walking and cycling, for example, or growing your own food, or there's a lot of, the amount of enjoyment I've had about even just building this little garden at the weekend, and how positive, when you can become so negative about everything, just from a mental shift, it's been really good. So yeah, I mean, I think there is something there. So Sarah from films, I forgot the name of the company, the name of the group, but she's been really useful in trying to develop an idea, and just did a couple of emails, but a lot of information there. And so I'm really hoping that we can get a group together that can evolve this idea and create something that could be filmed, and get people involved in this with, stories, because people have contacts all over the place that are living well.
Okay.
Anyway, so a lot short, long answer.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Any other questions? And I'll just flick screens so that I catch anyone on the. Fiona.
Yeah, thank you. It seems to me like there's a lot of really cool projects happening, and a theme that kept coming out is engaging with schools. So we've got the art projects engaging with schools. We've got composting engaging with schools. We've got Colin wanting to engage with schools with Climate Fresh. We've got the schools group wanting to engage with schools. My concern is if each of those groups go individually, the schools are going to get overwhelmed and say, we can't do it. But what's the possibility of pulling together all the different facets of that and going to the schools with a package? And that could have some of the resources that they're looking for to teach in this space, and provide different opportunities. And not every school might pick up everything, but if we kind of pull it together and synthesize what we want to be doing with children in this school age groups, then I think we're probably going to have more success than each kind of individual project trying to make some headway on that.
Thank you. That's a very constructive comment, and most helpful. Thanks, Fiona. I'm just going to flick screens again so that I don't miss any hands up. Yeah, Jack.
Yeah, I wanted to come back to a point that Chris Wheatley made in the surveys that he cited. And that was that the well-to-do people are the biggest emitters and most responsible historically for the mess we're in, and also have the capacity to do more than other groups. And, Fiona's comment about focusing on schools made me think of the need to focus on the well-to-do as well, because they have the most resources to actually make a difference, and because that'd include most of us. I mean, you don't have to be a millionaire to be in that category. And it's something that we, I think, should focus more on. A lot of these programs that are suitable for schools are also suitable for other groups as well.
Thank you, Jack. And Julie Cave.
Yes, thinking about like getting to the poorer and less well-to-do people in the population that are already struggling and how to appeal to them. The fact that there's this few very rich people doing most of the damage seems to me to be a good thing to run with, and getting them excited, not trying to make them ration their already scant resources, but getting them to stand up and say, hey, these few rich people are wrecking our world.
Indeed.
Yeah, so
Yes,
it's
yes.
the way they don't want to hear anything they've got to give up, but they do want to say, hey, this isn't fair.
I think that cry has to be heard far more clearly. And
so that could be a campaign. And my one of my relatives have suggested that to me, that is the way to get people excited, not to tell them what they've got to give up, but to say to them, look, make these rich people stop doing this. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Julie.
Okay.
David Martin. Whoops, you're muted, David. We do want to hear what you have to say.
Hi, I have a dog, which is why I'm muted, because she barks. Just wanted to endorse what Julie and Jack have been saying about the need to focus attention on wealthy, high consumers. But I don't want this to become a discussion about wealthy people. It's really a discussion about all of us. It's really important to distinguish between those who are extraordinarily wealthy and people who are just simply fortunate. And we all in this forum, I suspect, have a level of wealth and resources that is well above the average. And yes, our message needs to be very clearly directed towards that cohort. So just wanted to really support what's been said, and to say, yes, the irony of this situation is that those with the most resources are indeed the highest and the biggest consumers and the most prolific emitters. And I hope we can turn our attention to that over the coming months.
It would be excellent if the forum amplified that message. Karen Lee, and I think that will be the last comment. Good.
I'm afraid I just want to echo what everyone else is saying. It's very laudable to want to engage with schools, and that's really important. But as Christine already knows, we've had lots of conversations about this. Schools are quite overloaded. They have limited capacity. But more importantly, Sarah Lange, who had a much wiser head than I have, I don't know if any of you remember the work she did in waste, said to me once that children should be neither worriers nor warriors. And whilst it's really important to engage with schools and children and supplement what the curriculum isn't doing, we can't walk away from the responsibility of everyday people. And it's not about who's good or bad or who's wicked or who's got more money or more resources. It's just a simple fact that everyday people, you, me, whoever, we can all do things, we can all make a difference, and we need to keep a focus on making change accessible to everyone. Anyway, so I'm probably repeating what everyone said, but that was my 2 cents worth.
It was more than 2 cents worth, Karen. Thank you very much. It is time to begin to end. I want to point out that Christina has compiled a spreadsheet of the projects that are happening, and also a spreadsheet of the ideas people have for projects. And both of these can be found. Christina, can you complete that sentence and tell people where to find these spreadsheets? If you think you want to look at these ideas or connect with a project.
Yeah, the links are in the chat, but I know it's hard to follow up with that. So yeah, I can send a follow-up email probably to everybody who attended the HUI, or you can contact me at community@nelsontasmanclimateforum.org.
And they will be in the minutes and they are on the website, but.
Oh, excellent. Okay, that information can be in the minutes. That sounds very helpful. Okay. Any last urgent things to be said before we close with a karakia? And again, I'll just flick screens here. Right. Okay. So this is the karakia of bringing Sharon, and unmute yourself, Sharon.
Sorry, yeah, this is just very quick. I just wanted to draw everybody's attention to the Ministry for Environment submission on transforming recycling, which is a very big piece of work. It's got the container deposit scheme, organic waste to landfill, a lot of really big stuff in it. Our group, what we make, buy and waste, will be putting in a submission, and it closes on the 6th of May, 5 p.m. 6th of May. And yeah, if anybody is interested in contributing to that, or if we want to make it a wider submission, then yeah, just contact someone in the Buy, Make and Waste group, perhaps me or Karen Driver. That's all I want to say.
Yeah, thanks very much for doing that on behalf of all of us. Thank you. Okay, so this is the karakia about bringing our waka to shore at the end of the day. Ko te hā, ko te rā, ko tangaroa, ko te mana, ko te kotahitanga o te mata waka, haumi e, hui e, taiki e. Thank you, everyone, for your wonderful contributions.
Bye, everybody.
Ka kite. Thank you, Joanna.
Thanks, Joanna.